Hello, my name is Danny. We're going to be going over forced sterilizations in these 3 countries. Before we dive in, I want to go over some key terms: sterilization, forced sterilization, and eugenics. The key component is that forced sterilization is done without consent. 2 ways that females can get sterilized are tubal ligations and IUDs. A tubal ligation is meant to be a permanent procedure for females. 2 ways that men can be sterilized are vasectomies and physical and chemical castration, all of which are meant to be permanent procedures. In the United States, here are some of the key events that have taken place. In 1883, eugenics took off as a result of Francis Galton. Galton, a statistician, demographer, and ethnologist, defined eugenics as the study of agencies under social control that may improve or impair the racial qualities of future generations, either physically or mentally. In 1907, Indiana passed the first forced sterilization law, and 2 years later, California did the same. They targeted conformed criminals, idiots, imbeciles, and rapists. Dr. Sharp pioneered the vasectomy as well as physical castration. As a result, Indiana began sterilizing those who were criminals or mentally defective. In 1927, Carrie Buck, as many others, were forcibly sterilized for the protection of the state. 9 laws, or 18% of the United States, have passed laws on requiring physical and chemical castration of sex offenders. It is mandated and they are not given a choice. California female state prisons have had many issues with female prisoners being sterilized without consent. Crystal Nguyen states it best. I was like, oh my god, that's not right. Nguyen, 28, said, do they think they're animals and that they don't want to breed anymore? What point do prisoners lose their right to their dignity and ability to reproduce? How is that constitutional? Kimberly Jeffrey went in to have a C-section, and the doctor attempted to try and push her to do tubal ligation, which the only thing it did was further cause her more stress and panic. Kelly Dillon hadn't realized she had been sterilized until she was experiencing menopause 30 years earlier than anticipated. She felt like this shattered her dream of starting a new family. In 2017, Judge Sam Benningfield of Tennessee offered inmates 30 days off of their sentence if they agreed to permanent birth control. Mario Williams, a civil rights lawyer, says that voluntary consent is no consent at all if tainted with coercion from the government. You're preying on really vulnerable people. The ACLU and Matthew Walther of The Week both published articles the unconstitutionalness of forced sterilization. These are the events that we'll be going over for China. China has continuously kept strict family laws since 1980. Abortions and sterilizations have been pushed upon thousands of people. The Uyghurs are the largest minority group in China and been the most heavily targeted. Many have been forced into internment camps for having too many children. Experts call this a demographic genocide. Zumret Dawood has shared her story about how she was sterilized against her will. She was angered that this was done without her consent. So many women were forcibly sterilized. These were used to carry out orders. The Chinese government officials have denied this happening. Those in internment camps had to attend family planning lectures. Married women were awarded privileges with their husbands, but only if they took birth control prior. Chinese officials detained Gulzia Mogdin and threatened to withhold her brother. Mogdin was upset to learn that she was given an abortion. She wanted to have a baby with her new husband. As of 2021, China is now denying vasectomies in an attempt to boost the population. Here are the key events of Peru. In 1920, Peru promoted eugenics to bar marriages of physically and mentally unfit people. By 1985, a state-funded planning law was established. It promoted the right to contraceptive methods and choice of family planning. In the 1990s, there was a massive sterilization campaign that included having litigation festivals. Poor women in rural areas were especially targeted. In El Comercio, hungry women were offered the opportunity to participate in food supplement programs if they agreed to sterilization. Unfortunately, women participating in food programs were told they would be cut off if they refused such treatment. Many Peruvians are seeking retribution in a court case this year. So many women were not informed, tied down, or not told things in their native language. Former President Alberto Fujimori and 3 of his former health ministers are all facing prosecution on charges for human rights violations. To recap what's happened, this is key events cross-compared. Starting in the 1970s, the U.S. started changing sterilization laws. In 2014, a bill was passed in California to reaffirm prohibition of using sterilization as a birth control method in prisons. Meanwhile, in China, sterilization was ramping up more than ever, yet in Peru, they were making repatriation past actions. Fast forward to 2021, when State Rep. Chris Rabb issued a bill stating all men over 40 or who had 3 or more kids get a vasectomy. He later clarified that the bill was meant as a parody legislation and planned to introduce the bill because he thought that there would be no chance of passing. The common theme is the violation of human rights. At an international level, the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court found in 1998 recognized forced sterilization as a war crime and a crime against humanity of sexual violence. Imposing measures to prevent birth of a particular group is an act of genocide. This treaty established the International Criminal Court. Peru is the only country of these three that is part of the International Criminal Court. But all three countries are part of the United Nations. 20 years after the signing of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the United Nations met in Iran to host a conference about human rights and stated that couples have the basic human right to decide the amount of children that they have. It was elaborated even further in the 1994 conference located in Cairo. Citizens needed to do their due diligence and check the legislation that's being passed. Here are my sources and how they fit in the media bias. Here's my work cited in MLA format. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.